Hari Om. Okay, let's begin with 3 Oms.
Hari Om, sorry, are you doing live stream?
Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Hari Om. Let's fix that. Okay. Well, welcome everyone who's joined online on Zoom and on Facebook. I'm just going to share with all those in the interactive Zoom the Sadhana Panchakam text for everybody to chant along. Huh? Okay. So we'll chant together. Oh, you're hearing that harmonium okay? Let me fix that sound. So much to fix. Just a moment before we begin. I'll make sure the sound is working. All right. No. Let's start again. Om Vedo Nityamadhiyatam Taduditam Karmasvanushtiyatam Teneshasya Vidhiyatam Apachitihi Tam Yematistyajyatam Papauga Paridhuyatam Bhavasukhe Doshonusandhiyatam Atmecha Vyavasiyatam Nijagrihat Turnam Vinirgamyatam. And we'll chant the second verse. Sangha Satsu Vidhiyatam Bhagavataha Bhaktirdridhadhiyatam Shantyadi Parichiyatam Dridhataram Karmashu Santyajyatam Sadvidvanupasripyatam Pratidinam Tatpaduka Sevyatam Brahmaikaksharamardyatam Shrutishiraha Vakyam Samakarnyatam. So we're seeing a beautiful text by Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, and he's giving for us a summary of all the different aspects of Hindu Dharma. What aspects? Specifically, all the aspects connected to spiritual pursuit. All the different activities that fall under the umbrella of spiritual practice. So definitely something you're doing and I'm doing falls under that umbrella. And the purpose of these sadhanas is what? The purpose of the text, studying it, is so that we can engage and understand on our journey towards making our mind more pure, more quiet, more subtle, more available. The sadhanas in Hinduism is to work on the mind. So this is what the text is about. What we can do and the way the progress is made to improving the purity of that mind. And in general, the word sadhana, we saw that also, it is the process that we use towards that great goal of making the mind more fit to experience greater and greater joy. And any goal has a sadhana. A musician has the sadhana, or the practice, the general practice of the daily riyaz, sa-re-ga-ma-pa-da-ni-sa, like that, right? And so too does the sportsman, and so does the scientist for his great hypothesis he's testing. Everybody has some practice, something to do, some process that they have to engage in. So what all those processes are for the spiritual goal of life, universal spiritual goal, that is laid out here. And the text is meant for sadhaka. Sadhaka means a spiritual aspirant. Essentially, it means somebody who's willing to change. Are you willing to change? So that also, depends who you ask. If you ask the people in the household, they may say, no, you just cannot change. But the idea about that is essentially when we come to understand that the way that I'm living right now is not the best method, the ultimate way to live, the ultimate way to enjoy my life, I need to change. When that conviction, when that idea dawns on a person, they become a sadhaka. And this is a big step. It's not a small step to become a sadhaka. Sometimes we feel stuck in life, where part of us wants to move forward, and part of us doesn't want to move forward, and part of us doesn't want to admit that we want to move forward and that we don't want to move forward, and we just go in circles watching reels on YouTube. Right? That is not a uncommon condition. Right? In that regard, it helps to think a little bit. If I just stay the way I am, doing what I'm doing, and 10 years goes by, where will I be? What will my life be? So you just have to do the visualization exercise and see this road leads where. And as well as you can paint the picture, you should paint the picture. And then you ask, do I want to go there? I'm headed in that direction. Do I want to go there? It doesn't take any effort. I just have to keep flowing in this direction, which I'm doing. Even if I'm stuck, what happens if I stay stuck from 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 years or whatever? Where will I be when I'm 50 or 55 or whatever age, 65, whatever you start at? Then you see the opposite. If I were to stop this thing I don't like now, improve the way I'm living, just by stopping it, where would I end up? And think in 10 years, what would my life be like? And really lay it out. Such a person gets resolve. They get that vyavasayatmika buddhi that is talked about, that single, settled mind that, you know what, I need to improve. So it's a wonderful exercise to reinvigorate our seeking. But this text is really meant for sadhakas. And the very first instruction we saw, Vedo nityam adhiyatam. Daily we should study the Vedas. We should be, and we should adopt as a general point of view, a Vedic view of life. And that includes daily reading any scripture that has the same theme of the Vedas, be it Bhagavad Gita or Ramayana or Bhagavatam or one of the commentaries by the great saints and sages, or autobiography of a life of a saint or sage, or reflection on something going on in the world outside with a Vedic lens, like that. That type of thing should be done. Why? It is because such daily interaction with the scriptures will give us inspiration. It will, as we dwell daily and always, again and again, what happens is we get a inspiring vision to live up to, an inspiring vision to work towards, inspiring insight into the way things work. Because if you don't have any PhD or any doctorate or master's or degree, we all have a PhD in forgetting. It is very easy for us to forget whatever we've learned. So for that reason also we have to do it daily. The purpose is that may the ideas of the scriptures become part of my vision. Therefore, every day I have to be engaged in this thing, right? Then, as we study the scriptures, we will get instructions. In this aspect of life, this is the way to behave. In that aspect of life, this is the way to behave. What is covered in one word is dharma, or duty. There's duty for friendship. There's duty for a mother. There is duty as a student. There is duty to oneself. There's a duty in society, and all of these different things, right? There's different duties at different stages of life, and there's different duties for different types of minds in different types of work, and all that is studied well in the scriptures, and we discussed it. So, to do what has been prescribed by society and scriptures, to do that, whatever I have to do daily, and to do it well, is the next step. And this is a big step, because we have desires to do other things, strong desires to give up my duty and go do something else. So to make the connection between, this is what scriptures teach, prosperity is in the hands of the dutiful person. So what desires can be fulfilled in life, let those be fulfilled through duty. And which desires you want to fulfill through doing something prohibited or illegal or whatever, you have to slowly rise above that. How will you rise above that? Well, in this step, one rises above it simply by sticking to the duty. Everybody knows that you and I, at one stage in life, and maybe still do, love to sleep in. Right? But then, once you have tasted getting up early, before the crack of dawn, then you love that also. So then you're in this twilight zone. I love this and I love that. I like when I feel the cool air and then I put my comforter on in the morning, but then I also like to get out and feel the cold water on my skin and then I feel awake. I like both things. So it is, I wouldn't say it's a duty to get up at 4 a.m. or whatever, but it becomes those duties that you practice for some time, you start to enjoy and realize that, oh, you know what? I get more out of this than I get from that. The duty leads me to more prosperity, and it has also led me out of so many low habits which actually are not as enjoyable. All human beings universally have this problem. We don't know what we don't know. So if you make me choose between how do you say that, cheap store-bought vanilla ice cream and cheap store-bought strawberry ice cream, I will have a strong preference between the two of them, you might say, right? And then somebody says, no, let's make some homemade ice cream. But for that, we have to go get fresh ingredients and we have to put in the effort and do all of that. But once you taste that, there's no joy like that. In fact, you will enjoy all the steps to get to it. Or I could just go to the store and buy that ice cream which has no real cream in it. They just take some powder of this and some oil from that, and they put some other thing, and they mix it very well, and they say it's as though ice cream. So to come out of lower things to go to higher things, it's not sometimes a very intellectual process. You just have to get up and do the good thing and then learn to love it. And that is well known. So doing my duty, I grow out of tamasic or low, desires, strong likes and dislikes for things that are not connected to my duty. So this is the next step. And while the purpose of the other was to bring the vision into my life by regularly engaging with the scriptures, the purpose of this is to allow myself to be released from very low tendencies that are in the obstacle of me just getting up and performing my duty on time, on spec, on budget, as they say. The right time, at the right place, the right thing. I love that. So, and to do it well. That's the other thing. The other thing, we talked about this, it is essential that when doing duty, whatever it is done with an attention to detail, it is done with one's full heart. I remember being at the Chinmay Mission Toronto ashram, and in the good old days we got to do everything and help in everything, and so my job that day was to stand at the door and hand out the Pustaka Prasad, the little Prasad books. And Puja Guruji, Swami Tejomayanandaji, was walking past me, and he looked at the basket which we use for books and the books inside, and he said, "That's how you're going to give out the prasad?" Now, I just picked up the basket we always use and I put the books inside, and I'm standing there. I gave it no extra thought. And I learned such a deep lesson with the intensity with which Guruji said it. In this only, swanushthiyatam, the attention to detail with full love, any little thing, to invest ourselves in that. Duty is a telltale sign of a spiritual aspirant. Duty for duty's sake. That is the second step. But then certain problems now suddenly arise for that person. What is that? Remember, I'm doing my duty because I see the connection to prosperity, to my goal, to my advancement. Doing my work as I should do it because I know this is the best way to get lasting prosperity. But when one's mind is on a goal, whatever the goal might be, and there is a natural uncertainty whether or not you will get that, there's going to be a natural anxiety in the heart. And this is a very simple analysis which we don't think about, and we don't talk about at the dinner table, and we don't communicate to the next generation. Something like, dear son, dear daughter, dear mind, you may want this great goal. You might want it very badly. You might have worked your whole life for it. But there's a basic rule in the world that not all desires get fulfilled. There are more desires than there are resources. There is a competition for these things. So you may or may not get it. That is the basic idea all people have to set in their mind as the expectation. Whatever it is you're working for. I really, really want to get a job at this company. I really, really want to get a person like this to marry. I really, really want to get this number of children. Whatever desire it might be, the basic understanding has to be, as you enter the world, is desires may or may not be fulfilled. So though you're working for it, there's no guarantee it'll come. That, if you remove that expectation from the mind, and you send out a generation of individuals who are bright-eyed and naive, then you get intense dejection. I can't believe I didn't get 95. I don't want to live anymore without that. Because there was no idea that you may or you may not get it. You can have a desire, but whether you get it or not is not entirely in your hands, and that is a normal and ordinary fact of life. So, welcome to the world of desires and pursuit. This is how it goes. So, setting that expectation certainly buffers an individual from deep despondency, but it creates a new problem. Nobody wants to fail in their pursuit of desire. You like that? It's called bad news. We don't want it. So that anxiety doesn't go away, even if it has been buffered with proper thought. Then, the other thing that happens is the more and more we pursue anything, the stronger and stronger our desire becomes for it. A tendency becomes, well, I only want to enjoy it this way. I only want to enjoy that thing. I would like to go to the next level and this type of thing. Then another thing comes. We know because only when you do the action well, at the right time, the right way, with all the right details, then you get the best result. So a kind of perfectionism also starts to build in the personality. So many problems come with this basic thing. Go out, do the action, get the result. Do the best you can. So now the spiritual person who has certainly given up the tamas and is doing their duty gets an additional sadhana called, so that was karma, doing one's duty. Well, now karma yoga is introduced. Tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi. A person should, doing the exact same work, offer that to the Lord. Offer that to the Lord means what? The karma being the same, the attitude is that may this action go out into the universe and make whatever contribution it has to make. I'm doing the action well, let it go and do what it has to do for whoever it has to do. And I will certainly get some result, and that is nice. But I get a satisfaction from doing the action alone, because I know this action is making a contribution to the world. It's an action, and action has to have a result. So essentially what is going on there is a change in one's attention, or purpose if you want to say. Prior to that, the majority of my attention was on whether or not this is going to get me that. I want to do this and I'm seeking to get that tangible thing in return. Right? Now attention has switched. Certainly this brings that, and this has to be done well to get that thing done, and that nothing has changed about any of that. But my attention has focused. Focus has shifted to what? How is this going to make a contribution to others? Very simple. Nothing too complex. Any action you do will have some rebound effect, but it will also have an effect on the world. So my attention shifts to that. Whether you say the world, or my community, or my nation, or my industry, or my Bhagavan, it is other than yourself. That is the essential thing. My attention is really not on what I get out of this. And it is such a liberating experience. Not to talk about, but just to go do something anonymously, well, for someone else. And so it is encouraged that everybody set out a little bit of their day to do that, to experience it. And then let that seep into all one's actions. Right? So an attitudinal shift is required. Like this, all seekers are encouraged to become real, what is called sadhus at heart. A sadhu is one who, by definition, what is that? Parakara sadhnoti iti sadhu. Parakara means the work of another. Sadhnoti, he accomplishes. A person who helps others accomplish their goals is a sadhu. That is their function in life. If you see the stories of sadhus, or any great story that they tell children, a Mahatma was passing, and then these two foolish people asked the Mahatma a question, and then he responded, and he solved their problem, and then he kept going. That's what sadhus do. Right? So, to be a sadhu at heart means first and foremost in your mind you're thinking, well, what contribution can I make? What help can I do? Like that. to live and walk and drive and talk in this world, like your basic and first identity is as a person who can do something for others. Like that. And I happen to be doing it here, but if I'm not here, then I would just do it there. And the stellar example of that in our scriptures is who? Hanumanji. You know, whatever he's doing, whatever story we take of what Hanumanji did and does, he's keeping in mind the benefit of others. He's keeping in mind the benefit of the whole team. Like that, we must all be. Such a mindset is dharmic. That is a dharmic attitude. So the actions are dharmic because it is your duty. Now the attitude is also dharmic. And this is well taught in corporate seminars, and I have gone to so many and heard them talk that the top leader and leadership and management has to be concerned about the welfare of his people and should have an open door policy, and people should feel like when they go to the boss has their interest at heart. They feel ready to open their ideas. They won't get shot down. Then when they feel like they're supported and the boss has their back, then they will contribute more and the team is sustained. And what is that except for? Please, leaders, be sadhus for your team. Then the whole team will be upheld. Then you'll be resilient and more prosperous and more creative. So it is a universal principle. So this type of change in the heart is the next thing O Sadhaka Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya puts. Then what happens? Then the problem of the work being stressful and may not giving me the results that I want, that problem gets way minimized. I'm getting satisfaction from the work itself. Stress has reduced in my life, and a transformation has started inside. A transformation you cannot buy. What is that? Two things. Bhakti has been cultivated. The care and concern for the other actually is the sowing of the seeds of bhakti. Devotion for Bhagavan. Many people feel like I cannot have devotion. I don't know if Bhagavan exists and all that. But this simple practice of the care for the other, we will see today how that is the seeds of devotion. Then a lot of the lower things and desires and complex things that we wanted and all that have always divided our mind and kept us stuck, they start to fall off. So to let those go slowly and stick to those instructions so far given is the next one. Kam ye matistyajyatam. Slowly give up kamya karma. Desires that really only seek a benefit for me and my people. And to heck with everybody and everything else. I don't want to see or hear anybody. I just want me and my people to be happy. That sort of thing starts to fall into the background and fall away. You rise above it because you have a higher process of life that you're engaged in, a higher sadhana. Then, pao pao gha pariduyatam. We should wash away all the tendency for us to commit pap. This we studied, the meaning of pap. Anything that gets in the way of our realization is called pap. Anything which cultures, engenders a split personality or makes us more identified with this body or makes us less noble in our thoughts, all that is considered pap. So even being selfish, that is also pap. So to wash away all the tendencies and pressures in our heart that make us do that is the next step. Now what we have said so far will definitely help in all of that. But further than that, now being alert to what kind of things we're taking in, or what type of news we watch and things we do and all of that. Making it more sattvic. This is also a big topic. We'll talk about it a bit more. it will come again. But to make that mind more alert and sattvic is a great way to practice this, washing ourselves, or letting these, papa is a sort of thing which protects itself. So once you just stop engaging in it, a tremendous effect has already been done. So to give up things, Gurudev has a great sadhana of introspection, where you sit every evening and you just run through the whole day, witnessing the various noble and ignoble thoughts that crossed in the mind. And that simple process alone of being aware of what is going on in the mind, without making yourself feel bad for it, that is a tremendous way to wash away also. Then dosho nusandhiyatam. Bhavasuke dosho nusandhiyatam. Right. Now, we may be putting in all the effort to give up the lower things and wash away bad habits and making progress also. But if somebody asks, well, who's really trying, those people ask this sort of question. I want to know really the thoughts, how a person drops something there. No is not good for them, but they can't help but still enjoy it. Like, how do you conquer that in the mind? That is told here. The mental shift that is required to really give up things is to see the defects, the evils, the dangers, the negative consequences, the stain, the blemish, the dosha, that one word is for all of that, the defect in ordinary joys of the world. It is not, and we took some time to analyze what those could be. In brief, we all know that the joys, any joy you can experience through any one of the senses, bhava sukha means what you enjoy from encountering anything in the world or remembering a thought. That's something that is created by contact with the world or a thought or a memory. That sort of joy, what are the defects in that? And we saw, first and foremost, or simply to observe, it's momentary. There's a famous story of Puja Gurudev sitting with the youth and drinking a cup of coffee. Kerala coffee. This is how it was told to me, like that. Sipping it slowly and loudly and all attention on him in silence. Then when it is over, getting up and he's leaving. So silence spent with Gurudev and he's just drinking a cup of coffee. Then he's leaving also, no comment. Then Gurudev turned back with a smile and said, who said, he actually, as he was drinking the coffee, he said, who said there is no happiness in coffee in the world? He only been saying that, I'm sure, right? He said, who said that? Then after he drank the coffee, as he was leaving, obviously to go to the next thing, because Gurudev was so busy, satsang after satsang, he turned back and looked at the youth and said, but it is temporary. And he left them with that thought. What is wrong with it being temporary? You have to think and see. So this we did last time, and we won't go through the detail again. But first of all, nobody wants any joy to end. That's a basic thing you can see, right? Second of all, temporary means you should quantify. Temporary means a few minutes only. It is hard to find a joy that will last more than a few minutes. You might say a movie lasts 2 hours, 3 hours if it's a Bollywood movie. What do you say only a few minutes? But in that also you find you're not always enjoying. That's why people nowadays skip to the section I like, or take out, I just want to see that section that highlights from that movie again and the best scenes and all that.
If you've seen a movie and you have to sit down and watch the whole thing when you know there's the best scene coming up in an hour, you skip to that. Some people don't like the songs, they skip over the song. Some people like the songs, right? Skip to the song. So if you study, any joy you can only enjoy for a few minutes only. So that is the best the world can offer. Oh, few minutes here, few minutes there, few minutes there. And what is the rest of the time? I can't wait for it to come. It's going to come. It's almost there. All that is joy because you expect for a few minutes of joy. And then it is gone like that. So this is all we're engaged in. And then what is the problem with that? So now you see, okay, this is what I'm engaged in. Several problems are there. First and foremost, we barter away a whole lifetime chasing such temporary joy. If that same energy were spent on the spiritual process, you would get permanent joy. And you would get whatever else the world has to offer. So that's the biggest thing. The other thing is that no joy is just enjoyed like that and then finished. There's always a lingering taste for it left afterwards. Right? So an itch, if you want to call. Imagine you taste it and it leaves your tongue itchy until you taste it again and it leaves your tongue itchy again. And then you taste it again and it leaves your tongue itchy again. So you get caught in that thing. And things are designed to be itchy on the eyeballs and itchy on the tongue and itchy for the ears. So that's, you didn't even know there was such a thing as a mochi ice cream. And you were fine. And then you think, oh wow, when will I ever taste that again? So now an itch, they have created an itch inside of you. So that's the other problem. And like this you have to analyze constantly, every day, all the time, with every joy. So you just see the thing honestly. It has this positive and it has this negative also. Finally, the idea is that for the person who is sensitive to the sorrow that is part and parcel of the joy, to that person, they begin to look for something more. Because if, by the nature of the human mind, if you taint my joy with a little sorrow, the whole thing becomes sorrow only. Have you noticed? Gurudev used to say it's like eating a candy with the wrapper. The example in scripture is something like this. If I put in front of us today a delicious plate of brownies and then mention that, I had kept it beside the rat poison and it fell into a few of the brownies only. I don't know which ones. Will you eat them? No. Will you even look at them? No. Why did you even put it on the table? Straight to the bin. Because the thought of the sorrow that is going to come with the joy, of course it'll taste like a brownie, but the sickness that will come after that makes the whole thing as though like that. So this is the effect of someone who really thinks deeply and sees both sides of the joy and the sorrow, right? Dependence, uncertainty, bartering my life, momentary joy. And we did this calculation, but I'll just repeat it again because it's so useful. Again and again, that's the instruction. Anusandhiyatam. Again and again, we have to look. The joy is momentary, but the effects, the negative effects, are not momentary. Right? Today we're picking on ice cream, the mochi ice cream. So how long does the joy last? A few minutes. Ice cream melts. But how long do the calories last? They don't last a few minutes. They will last a really, really long. You might die with those calories. All joy is like that. Yes, it will give me a few minutes, but then I will get this thing, and this thing will be with me forever as a result of that. So then life becomes about, okay, well, you have to manage this problem. You can't remove it. And we have been managing it from the beginning with dharma, right? Instead of becoming bitter about this reality. Because if you look deeply, you can become bitter. All joys, including relationship joys, and the joy of being alive ends in death, and the joy of friendship gets broken over money, and so many things. You look carefully at this world and you say, ay, every person who's living in peace, another one is being shot to death in war, and the whole thing is interconnected, and this is the world I am living in. So the result is not that. It's not to become bitter like that. The idea is that this is what the world has to offer. It should inspire in the heart a desire to seek for something more. So the next instruction is that atme cha vyavasiyatam. What is it? Desire to seek for something unconditional. Unconditional happiness. And to consistently engage myself in that. Consistent pursuit. Let that desire take firm root in the heart. Just think for a moment about what the scriptures are offering. Right here, right now, enjoying the satsang, the person who has a desire for such unconditioned happiness, the person who reaches that desire, what do they experience? Sitting right here, right now, they will be aware of the fact that their consciousness, their life, their thoughts, are appearing in themselves, and there's no limit to themselves. That anything that is happening is a play. That even the most scary thing that could happen might cause, my skin to rise, but I am always able to sink into the fact that I am untouched by what is going on, and then play back with this world and give back something to contribute. That the Lord of the whole universe, with all his powers and all his love and all his knowledge and all his presence, is not away from me at any time. So that person who spent the same amount of effort enjoying ice cream, they decided to spend this effort in this regard. And this is the result that they got. With the same mind and the same logic and the same everything. So that you have the choice in front of you of these paths. And it is not like the mind shouldn't tell you, oh, well, when will you get that? Lifetimes before you get that. You just sit here and have an ice cream and deal with that tomorrow. But that is a trick of the mind. It is available for anybody who pursues it. And no pursuit in that direction goes to waste. So these type of thoughts, to let that desire get firm in the heart, that this is worth pursuing. Gurudev's writing has words like the clarion call from inside to the path of the noble. Something inside telling you there's more to this life. There's something great to be experienced, to be understood. And the limitations which you feel on yourself and I feel on myself, they're not your birthright. You can shed them. Like that. So let that desire, which comes in everybody's heart now and then in different forms. It may not come as I desire Atma Ichha. I desire Mukti, Mumukshutva. You may not know those words itself, but the feeling that I need to pursue something more. This is not all that there is in life. Or that I want to see Bhagavan. Whatever that is phrased as, that desire, which is not Bhavasukha. Or I want my mind to be balanced in all situations. So I can give the best to the world. However you want to put it. But I want to bring out more than I am. now from myself. So this sort of desire, let it take root in your heart. Huh? Then we saw the next one also. What's supposed to happen? Right away, get out of your comfort zone and leave your home in pursuit of that desire. Nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. Because we studied this in detail, every creature has a feeling of home. Every time we leave the house, even if you go to the other side of the world, there is the Tanpura in the background saying, I'm not at home, but I will go back home one day. And home is where the comfort is, and home is where safety is, and all that thing. That theme song is playing in the background. That is an inheritance from our creature days. But one who's on the path realizes, well, home will be everywhere for me wherever I go. Home is also where all our comforts are. Home is our comfort zone also. And Gurudev explains home is this attachment with this body. This is home for us. So to quickly leave that and pursue something higher, which is required for any great goal. We saw, for example, a man leaves the village to go to town because in the village he cannot pursue the goal of his great business. Once he's made up his mind that I want to run a business, quickly he should just go. Like that. So now, do I really have to leave my home? I only come to this satsang because it's online, you know. I'm not leaving my blanket and my comforter and my 2 steps from the fridge. No. Well, then you say, fine. You have all the different 7 sadhanas that came before this. 7 or 8 sadhanas. 8 sadhanas. You do those things. But certainly, you will have to get out of your comfort zone to pursue something higher. You cannot keep the pacifier the baby cannot keep the pacifier in the mouth and then also learn to eat food. The whole life journey has been about leaving my comfort zone. All growth happens when I leave my comfort zone. So to leave the idea of home, to leave comfort zone, to leave attachment with the body, all these meanings are given for that phrase, which we saw in a bit more detail last time. Then, what should you do? Just go roam about looking for something? Quickly, the next instruction is, which we chanted in the next verse, Satsangats tu vidhiyatam. What is that? Sangha satsu vidhiyatam. That a person should seek satsang right away. And then also, Bhagavataha bhaktir dridhadhiyatam. When we leave the comfort of the things we've been holding on to, quickly we should go and hold on to something higher in the form of satsang and bhakti. Like that. This is the instruction. And we saw in some detail what we need to understand is satsang. Satsang means association with good, the noble. Like that, right? And it begins with the most basic of things, that is, my association with the people who I hang out with, right? How do you know if they're good? The best, easy, simple definition from our Puja Swami Prakashananda ji is that where people are talking about Bhagavan or something more noble, like that, that is called satsang. And where people are talking about themselves, that is called kusang. So you could very well have all pundits get together and talk about themselves. That's not satsang. And you could have the most ordinary business people get together and talk about something they saw in satsang or some part about Bhagavan or some katha or something. Well, that is satsang. So where that is going on, we have to be there, right? Then further than that, for anything that we see in the world, to send our mind towards the higher reality, towards the presence of the interconnectedness of things, to send our mind in the direction of awe and gratitude always, which we talked about from the beginning of Vedo Nityamadhiyatam, that is also satsang. Finally, satsang will be what I associate my mind with. People like that type of definition because that means they don't have to go out and seek companionship with good people. They say, no. I will go and hang out with the worst of the worst. But I'll just be in satsang because I'll see Bhagavan in them and all that. But that is reserved for great Mahatmas. People tell stories like this. My son or daughter was a very, very good child until they started hanging out with such and such group. This is the story they tell. I have heard it before, right? But the question I can ask here, when nobody is telling me this right now, is what I heard from Guruji. Someone asked, if they're so good, and then they hung out with wicked people or people who are not doing good things, right? How come those people didn't become good, and your good son or daughter became not good? How come the wicked rubbed off on your child, or you, or me, and I didn't rub off on them? It means to say that there was some potential for that negative side to come out, and they brought it out. It highlights the need of satsang. It also highlights the difference between just being in the company of people and companionship. And satsang means companionship with the good. In the sense that, there was one boy who had to wait after school for his parents to pick him up. So while he would wait, he would be there with all the boys who don't go home after school, who do their homework and do all the things productive children do. So they would stay there and they would play cards and they would smoke and they would gaff, right? And so he would be there with his backpack waiting for his parents, and the boys would all be there. And so slowly the boy said, why don't you come take a load off and sit with us? So that makes sense. Taking a load off is not illegal. And then they would say, why don't you play? You're sitting there just watching us play. Why don't you play also? And they dealt him in, so he started to play. And they would always have a big bottle of soda that they would drink. One bottle a day, one of the big 2 liters. So they said, try this. Playing cards is even better when you have a soda with you. So then there he was, drinking soda, playing cards. And then after everybody left the school, then they would open up something to smoke. So they would smoke after. And after a long, long time passed, he said, okay, I'll just try it. You guys are so friendly, just to appease you. Every day you used to ask me, I'll just try it. Then a little more time passed. And he said, after this, we go to the club at night time. And if you think this is nice, you just come check out that. And before you know it, he's clubbing. Before he used to be going home and doing school. So the idea is, this is how it works. Companionship is when you actually do what everybody else is doing. You participate in what's going on there. Company is you're just like roommates. You're just there. You may not be involved in what the other person's going on. So satsang involves companionship with the good. Find yourself out of the home, in a place where satsang is going on, and engaged in that, what is being going on there. Discussion will be going on, reflection will be going on, upasana will be going on, seva will be happening. You go in and engage in that. And that is the type of quick impact you will get from satsang. Satsangas, sanga satsu vidhiyatam. Then the next instruction, Bhagavato bhaktir dadhiyatam. That will have to stay for next week. So we got a bit of a recap. For those who've been coming regularly, you might feel like he's not moving forward, he's just doing recap. I know that. And for those who are joining in for the first time, you got a good recap today. So I apologize to those who have been coming regularly, and I say good karma for those who've come for the first time. I will message on our WhatsApp group about classes during the Christmas holidays, and keep everybody informed. Okay? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Hari Om everyone.